Top 5 underrated suburbs in Kansas City that nobody's talking about right now. We're going to break them all down. I've got 2 picks. Jordan, you've got 2 picks. At the end, we've reserved number 5 for a list of all of our honorable mentions. Make sure to stick around until then. And if you want to see a full video on any one of these cities, make sure to comment down below. Without further ado, if we haven't met yet, my name's Nick.
I'm Jordan.
We help people buy and build homes in Kansas City. We're going to get started with number 1. This is actually my pick. It's Roland Park, and I've also included Mission, Kansas in this one. Now, Jordan, I'm breaking the rules right off the bat here.
Yeah, you included 2.
I'm including 2 here, but the reason I'm doing it, and I'll tell you which one it is, the reason I'm doing it is because these cities are side by side. A lot of what I say about Roland Park is actually also going to apply to Mission, Kansas. So here's where they're located on the map, very centrally located. Jordan, one of my favorite things, I actually live in Roland Park. One of my favorite things, quick highway access. I know with all of our videos we do day to day, we're all over the Kansas City area. And me being there, I can get pretty much anywhere in about 20 to 30 minutes at most. So that's one of my favorite things about the area. But you used to live in Merriam, Kansas, which isn't too far away.
Yep. First house that I bought was in Merriam, which is just on the west side of Mission. And quick highway access. I was right off Antioch and I-35.
And really that whole kind of western wing, I would even say out to Shawnee, that whole area is really growing very quickly. But I want to kind of recenter and pivot back to Roland Park. Again, a lot of this will apply to Mission, Kansas. Quick highway access. You're surrounded by 3 very nice cities. You've got Westwood, also Westwood Hills, which I think we could probably group those 2 together. You've got Fairway, Prairie Village, all cities where the home prices are quite a bit higher than what you'll see in Roland Park. And we'll get to that here in just a second. My other quick little pitch for Roland Park, Johnson Drive Shops. I love that area. I grew up in Fairway and Prairie Village, and we used to go down there all the time. And there's just been a lot of kind of renovation we've seen.
There's been a ton of development down there, a ton of shopping and restaurants and things to do, really.
Absolutely. So one of my favorite restaurants, Italian Delight, they went Avaludos is what they're called now. They went away and then they came back after COVID and they had quite an opening, but you'll find that right down Johnson Drive. So that's definitely one of my favorite areas. We're going to get to the home prices. You got a $320,000 median price. Jordan, the Johnson County average, it's somewhere around the 450s right now.
Yeah, 450, 500 range.
Yeah. So the reason we picked this for number 1, this is a really good area, centrally located. It's got all the advantages we talked about. $320,000. I don't know anywhere else in Johnson County where you can really take a swing at some houses at that price point and get in an area that's just going to explode over the next several years. Days to sell is kind of how we gauge how long it takes these homes to get an offer and also how competitive the market is. These are 2 of the most competitive cities in all of Johnson County. 2 days. They hit the market on like a Thursday, Friday. They're under contract by Saturday, Sunday. Not a whole lot of time.
Nope. Very desirable area. I mean, what, takes you 10, 15 minutes to get downtown from there?
Exactly. Yep. And that's another big one. Downtown, the plaza, anywhere in Kansas City, you're getting there pretty quickly. So another part of this is it's not just lower prices, but it's the potential for like appreciation, those prices going up. And we've got some data. We'll put it on the screen. Since about 2019, past 5 years, 45% appreciation. That is crazy. That's kind of on balance with the average appreciation we see with like the S&P 500. Obviously, the S&P did really, really well over that time period, but we're talking about 7 to 9% per year, which for context, Kansas as a whole, we're looking at about 4 to 5% appreciation a year. So this is definitely one of the places that's at least on my radar. I put my money where my mouth is. I think this area is going to blow up. And these are some of the most competitive homes in Kansas City, most competitive markets in all of Kansas City. Final thing I want to say, infill new construction. There's a lot of it and it's spreading that way.
Yep. A lot of demand in that area. There's a lot of people that don't want to leave that area. Like that is home to them and they want to stay in Roland Park, Prairie Village. And that's the area that is going to get revitalized. And it's happening right now.
It's happening right now. My dad's a builder. We've got a couple specs that have gone out. We've got one that we're building right now, which I'm excited. We'll make a video when we're getting there, when we're close to being completed. But you've got all the new construction, Fairway, Prairie Village. It's inevitable that it keeps spreading. We think Roland Park's the next big area, and that's why it's number 1 on the list.
So that was Nick's pick. For pick number 2, we are going to go to the Missouri side, and that's Parkville. This is my choice. I really think Parkville is a beautiful city on the northwest side of Kansas City, very close to everything. Short drive north to the airport, short drive to the downtown airport, downtown Kansas City, and North Kansas City, where there's a lot of redevelopment as well.
Absolutely. And on top of that, if you're looking to be outdoors, you got a ton of elevation changes, ton of treetops, green space. You got 2 lakes, Riz Lake, Weatherby Lake nearby. And on top of that, a lot of cliffs. So it's not uncommon to see homes that are like lakefront or on an exposed cliffside, which is very unique. I would go as far to say it almost doesn't even feel like Kansas City. Like when you go to Parkville, it feels like you're entering a completely different area. And that's one of the things that really makes it unique. But in terms of Parkville versus Roland Park, here's the major difference. Is Roland Park, it's definitely a suburb, but it's a very small city. And that could also be true of Parkville as well. But Roland Park, a little bit more hustle bustle because you're closer to everything. I think Parkville, the major difference is you're a little bit further away, but in terms of drivability, you've got very quick access, which is one of the shared kind of benefits of both of those 2 areas.
Yeah, Nick, that's right. And, Roland Park's a little bit more dense, a little bit more of an urban feel. And then Parkville, it's more nature, spread out, bigger lots, things like that.
Absolutely. So you do also have a good wave of new construction in Parkville. You've got a couple golf courses. Some of the communities are around those golf courses, like the National Golf Club of Kansas City. But the major difference in new construction is you're seeing full-on subdivisions, whereas like a Roland Park, Mission, Kansas, even like Prairie Village, Fairway, those are all infill.
One by one.
Redevelopment. So that would be the major difference. Jordan, I want to get to the home prices here just to compare. You've got a median sale price for pre-existing homes. So we exclude new construction. It's a completely different market. So it distorts the numbers. So just pre-existing homes, $540,000 median sales price, I believe, year to date. One of the major contrasts between Parkville, Roland Park, you have a little bit more time. You've got about 12 days until most of these homes are going under contract. So you can really take a little bit more time. You can see some more options, and maybe you've got even more room to negotiate there than a Roland Park or kind of Mission, Kansas.
And the other difference too, Nick, to point that out, talking about the home prices and just the homes. So Roland Park, much older. They're two bed, three bed ranches a lot of times. And in Parkville, they're going to be in subdivisions, bigger homes, things like that. So that's why you get that median price difference.
Absolutely. And just the size of the home. I think you're going to find quite a variation. They're probably going to be quite a bit bigger in Parkville. Yeah. Roland Park, it's not uncommon to see most of the homes around like 1,500 square feet or less. There are a couple outliers that are 2,000 square feet plus, but that would be one of the major differences. When we jump to new construction, it is more expensive than pre-existing, obviously, but it's not as much more expensive as you might think. So the median price, new construction, Parkville, Missouri, $637,000. And then you got about 58 new homes. So it's not a huge area for new construction, but you certainly have a lot of options. And I would say, based on the pricing we see these days for new construction, that is a pretty solid entry point. And really, that's like the median. So you can probably find things for in the 500s, maybe as low as the 400s, but that's a really good starting point for new construction.
Absolutely.
Moving on to suburb number 3, my pick here, and Jordan's going to pick another one. My pick is Lee Summit. I think this is extremely underrated right now. I think the growth trajectory is incredible. We get a lot of people reaching out from these videos, and whether you're looking at Lee Summit, any of the Kansas City suburbs, whether you're local, moving to Kansas City, we'd recommend reach out as soon as you possibly can. We'd absolutely love to set you up for success. And usually, we can make all of this information specific to you, answer the questions. Jordan, when you're not from the Kansas City area, you're moving here, it's really difficult to figure out, we've got all these different suburbs. They're all under the umbrella of the Kansas City metro. Which ones are good? Which ones would be a good fit? It can be very confusing. So all of our contact information, phone call, email, text message, feel free to reach out anytime. I bring that up because I always get the question, if you did live on the Missouri side, where would you live? I'd pick Lee Summit 10 out of 10 times. And here are a couple reasons. One, outdoor amenities. You got 5 different lakes, Lottawanna, Winnebago, you got Longview Lake, Lakewood. Every different end of the city.
And a lot of those lakes, they're building communities around them, which is very, very cool.
lakefront property, it's not uncommon to see like a 2, 3, 4, 5 million plus home being listed lakefront on weather that is just beautiful. Those are some of the highest price points you'll find Kansas City writ large. So that would be my first. The second, according to greatschools.org, niche.com, very highly rated schools, family friendly. A lot of the reviews that I've read seem to indicate youth sports, very big deal. You've got some very competitive sports there. Third major thing is there's a lot of land in Lee Summit. Jordan, you used to work with the railroad.
Yep.
One of the things with Lee Summit is it's actually the highest point on the railroad, or it was, between Kansas City and St. Louis. So a lot of their growth early on in the 1900s, it was because of the railroad. So you're going to find some older homes there. Downtown Lee Summit is just beautiful. A lot of local businesses. That's a really, really nice area. Of course, you got the railroad going through there. But, around the 2000s and onwards, really the late 90s, we saw a ton of growth in Lee Summit. And I think, again, the trajectory is incredible today.
Now, Nick, I'd like to shift to the home prices in Lee Summit. So when it comes to resale homes, we're looking at a median price of $390,000, which is really good compared to a lot of the other suburbs around Kansas City. And it's pretty competitive. 10 days to sell on
10 days to sell. So you got a little bit more time. And I would say Lee Summit's a bigger area and you tend to have quite a few options. I do want to make one distinction because that price is kind of similar to the price point of Roland Park Mission, which is like $325. Right here, we're talking about $390. You'll see a lot more variety. You'll see some bigger, older homes. And, a lot of them will have 2-car garages versus a Roland Park or Mission, Kansas, which are usually one. There's a big difference there. So on top of that, you've got probably way more options to choose from. Roland Park, Mission, any month out of the year, it's just a bigger area. There's more inventory. And I think there's room to get some pretty solid deals there. And we've had a couple clients move in where that's absolutely been, we've not been in a bidding war. That's one area that's a really safe option right now. I think it's just going to explode. Now, Jordan, new construction, a couple of areas around the Kansas City area that have the most options for new homes. Lee Summit is near the top of the list. It actually very well could be number one right now. So median price around $576,000. You got about 384 new homes that were listed on the market. Again, one of the highest numbers of options you've got for new homes compared to Parkville.
Yep, compared to Parkville for sure. So Lee Summit, big difference there. It's kind of like on an island out there off the interstate by itself, right? You have all that land and it's able to expand. So that's why there's all that construction going on.
Absolutely. And, some parts they're zoned to like Kansas City public schools. It can just keep expanding over and over and over. There's a lot of farmland that's unused. And really, one other advantage I should have brought up is you've got this small town feel. So you get those competitive prices that are low for pre-existing homes, kind of like a Mission, Roland Park. But you can get that if you're looking for more of a suburb feel versus more like kind of a little bit more hustle bustle of an area. So that would be one of the major benefits. But you've just got so many different options there. And we've got videos coming out. So make sure, let us know in the comments down below. If you want to see some new home communities, let us know in the comments and we'll get some of those videos on the schedule. Moving
on to suburb number 4, we're going to go back to the Kansas side and I'm going with Basehor, Nick. So I really like that town. It's a small town west of Kansas City, Kansas. There's really not a lot in Basehor, but there's a ton of development going on there. And it's very close to highway access. You're really close to the Legends. Great area.
Just a ton of development. The amount of stuff coming in the Legends in the next 3 to 5 years. Margaritaville Hotel, Buc-ee's is a big one. You got the Mattel theme park. I've got this all just. So we were out there a couple months ago. We actually went out to see a subdivision by PCDI Homes. Their lots on acreage. Jordan, I know you were lit up after you saw that.
Yep. I grew up in the country, and so that's what I like.
So compared to the other suburbs that we've talked about, this is definitely more of a rural feel. You want to be spread out. You can also find some neighborhoods where you're definitely going to feel a little bit more like a suburb. But if you want a lot of land, this would be one of the places I'm looking at. We've done 2 videos. I'll link them down below. The PCDI Homes, they've got a couple subdivisions. And then we also did Falcon Lakes, which is around the Falcon Lakes Golf Course in Basehor, Kansas. Absolutely beautiful. You've got the lake in the middle. The homes are built around it. And it's really, really nice out there. But I know you mentioned there's not a ton around. You got Price Chopper, Walmart, which is just like south of Baser, Bonner
right there in
Springs
Bonner
area.
Springs, yep.
And then you can also go north into like Leavenworth, that kind of area, Lansing. So this is definitely a part of like Kansas City that I think is way underrated. And again, the growth trajectory is nuts. And maybe you're seeing the pattern between all of these, but I do want to get to some of the home prices because the land that you might get, this is a pretty good deal.
Yeah. So when it comes to resale in Baser, you're looking at $422,000 medium sales price, which really, really good to get that space and get more home.
Absolutely. They're taking about 10 days median time to sell. I will say, I think the buyer pool for this area might just be a little bit smaller unless they've all seen this video, which make sure to hit the like button. But probably a little bit smaller, meaning not as competitive as some of the other areas that we've discussed. So 10 days in one suburb versus 10 days in another suburb, those can be two completely different markets. In terms of new construction, we kind of talked about it. Like Falcon Lakes around the golf course, those start in like the 500s. They can go all the way up to $1 million. But the median price, we've got the mid 400s down.
Yep, 461, 715 for a median new construction home in Baser, which is amazing for new construction, really. And there's been 80 new listings year to date in Baser, and that's a lot for that size of
it's a good amount. Yes, a fraction of the 350 or whatever it was in Lee Summit, but. I think a lot of what we've talked about applies to, some parts of like a Piper, Kansas. I think it applies to like a Lansing a little bit, but I mean, that whole area, I think super underrated, very, very large growth trajectory. I do want to move on to our fifth one, and we've kind of bent the rules a little bit. We actually had a lot of different options for this one, so we've got a whole long list. And
there's too many suburbs to choose from.
Exactly. Man. So this is why if you want to see a video on any of these or maybe a part 2 to this one, make sure to leave a comment down below. Now, I'm going to give you 2 of my honorable mention picks. Jordan's got 2 more. So we'll make these a little bit quicker. Definitely want to kind of piggyback on all the Baser talk that we just did. Piper, Kansas. I think a lot of it applies to Piper, Kansas. I think that area is growing very quickly for some of the same reasons. Legend area is growing very quickly. The Chiefs might make their way over there. No, who knows? Who knows? I'm not going to.
That would be cool.
I'm not going to hold my breath, but that would be pretty neat. My second pick, this is also going to be on the Kansas side. I got to go with DeSoto. And I think the argument for DeSoto being a good area that's underrated, that's going to see the growth, Panasonic battery plants coming there. They've got, I think, 4,000 some jobs. There are a lot of developers eyeing that area, not just for commercial, but also for developing whole subdivisions. The other kind of argument I want to make for this one is it's right between Western Shawnee, you've got Lenexa, and Olathe. Those are all cities that are growing very quickly, and Eudora. It's one of the only areas in between there. There's a ton of land. And the reason this is an honorable mention and not one that made like the top 4, I think the time horizon is just going to be a little bit longer to see that kind of return, to really see it take off. But we're in the early stages. It seems like it's inevitable. Those are my 2 honorable mentions. Jordan.
Yep. So for mine, I'm going to pick 1 Missouri, 1 Kansas. And for Missouri, I'm going to go with Smithville. You've got Smithville Lake, very, very cool. And then on the Kansas side, like I said, going with Spring Hill. So that's just south of Olathe. Great schools and tons of new development going on down there. And you're close to everything there in Johnson County.
Absolutely. Spring Hill, we do a lot of stuff about Overland Park. Spring Hill, you got a lot more room to expand south. So we've certainly got videos in the pipeline that we're going to put out, but let us know once again down in the comments below. For the record, if I had to pick another honorable mention on the Missouri side, probably go after Blue Springs, but that's because a lot of what we talked about regarding Lee Summit. So any questions, if you're moving to Kansas City, if you're local, just trying to find the right place to buy a home here in the Kansas City suburbs, make sure to reach out to us. All of our contact info is on the description. We'd love to make all of this specific to you. Usually the sooner you reach out, the better. We do have a good number of people who call us, like they're coming in town the very next week and want to see some homes. We can certainly do our best to accommodate, but the sooner you reach out, really the better strategy we can put together for you. And in this market, that matters because being prepared, you're going to be able to negotiate, even in some of these areas where it seems very difficult to do so. So thank you once again for watching the video. Hit the like button if you enjoyed it. We got 2 videos on the screen. We're going to link, Jordan, I think you're going to point to it, a whole playlist, all of our Kansas City suburb videos. And then right here, Jordan really loved this one. It was the baser video we did. Homes on acreage. This is one of the places that I'd be looking at if you're interested. So click on either of those and we'll see you on the other side.